Hello, everybody. Well, as you know, I am Rodrigo de Leon, a professor at the Social and Political Environment here at IPADE, and I am very, very glad to be here today with Professor Chedomir Nostrovic. Chedomir is a very, very good friend, and he's a great specialist in geopolitics. Chedomir, welcome. Thank you very much for this interview. The world we know is the world that the US and Europe, Western Europe, built some decades ago. Today this world is shifting. Today we see a major participation of China, Asia in general terms, Russia, India. Do you think we are seeing a new world order, a very different new world order, and this Western pact, Western construction at some point is going to change drastically?
This is a great question because we have to see what is the evolution for the future. So you're absolutely right, there was a Western domination. And when China joined the WTO, China was very grateful to the Western institutions because the Western institutions permitted China to grow. They knew how to play the rules of the Western domination. Okay, fine. But later on, since China is growing up, the appetite of China is also growing up. I would say it is natural because we are not in the same situation as 24 years ago.
Of course.
And we have two things from China. The first one is the BRICS, and the second one is One Belt, One Road initiative. So the BRICS, you have powerful countries. You have Russia, you have Brazil, you have India, you have China inside, etc. Now we have more than 15 countries which are members of the BRICS. Mexico is not. Today, the BRICS cannot oppose to the West if the West is united.
Okay.
But
it is not. Yeah.
Since it appears that the West is not as united as before, all countries will now look for their own interest. And they will see if a new world order is more beneficial for them rather than the old one. So we live in interesting times. We cannot predict what will happen, but we can look at the, let's say, directions. We can look at the perspectives. If the West is not united, in that case, other forces can grow. And they can say, okay, they can even say, we replace the US dollar as the world currency, or we replace IMF, or we replace the World Bank, or even the United Nations. Tremendous changes. There are structural changes, but this is because the West is not united. If the West is united, they cannot fight against that. Because still, the United States, with the European Union, with Canada, with Australia, with maybe Japan and Korea, they cannot go against that. For Mexico, Mexico is a middle power. And as a middle power, it is already present in a group which is called MICTA. So in MICTA, you have Mexico, you have Indonesia, you have Korea, South Korea, you have Turkey, and you have Australia. Mexico, I think, did not activate it very much because you still depend on the United States. Today, 27% of total GDP of Mexico is exports to the United States. But if this goes down, maybe, and I would recommend Mexico to activate a little bit more MICTA, not to replace the United States, but just to not put all the eggs in the same basket.
Okay.
And in that case, you can have alternatives and you can have opportunities. You don't join BRICS, but you activate MICTA.
That's perfect. And I think that's a great advice for, let me say, Mexico as a country. Now let me ask you another piece of advice, but for business people, for business people in Mexico. What do you recommend them in the context of these bilateral challenges?
Everything depends what is the company that we talk about. Let's imagine that you are an indispensable company. You have a, let's say, you have an ecosystem which is producing cars. Okay? And you are one important element in the car production. And let's say that Donald Trump is giving an exception to the car industry. They continue to work as usual because you cannot replace an ecosystem. They have built the ecosystem, the Americans, they have built the ecosystem in Mexico for the last 50 years. How can you change this overnight? That's impossible. So maybe there are indispensable companies in Mexico, they will continue to work. They will not be touched by the tariffs. They will not be touched by anything else. So no problem for them, they continue.
Okay.
So this is what I started at the beginning. It was 5 to 10 minutes to talk about Islamic business. But maybe Mexico is not looking at the world. You are so much in love with the United States. Why should you look at the others? But you should look at the others. The Muslim population is 25% in the world. But there is another country, Brazil. Brazil is the biggest exporter of halal meat in the world. Do we have many Muslims in Brazil?
No.
No. So why wouldn't Mexico talk about other parts of the world? But I understand you have been addicted to the United States for so long. So you are like a heroin addicted to them. So you cannot change it overnight. But I would propose that you gradually do something else. It can just help you to do that. So I would tell them, open up. There was one guy this afternoon in the session. He was in the food industry, and I told him to talk about to look at the Islamic business, and he said, "Wow, that's great. We never talk about that."
Yeah, maybe it is a great opportunity of diversification. No, we can look at different places or regions all around the world. I usually say that the world is shifting a lot, and there are just two countries, that are a little bit blind about those changes, Canada and Mexico. Because we are so close to the US, that everything is about Americans. But if you are in Germany, if you are in Singapore, if you are in Australia, if you are in some other latitudes, the conversation is about China, it's about Russia, it's about Muslims, it's about some other business opportunities. So I think this is a great opportunity on the one hand, to diversify our view at least. And well, I think this piece of advice is great for business people. And I just want to say thank you very much, Chedomir. I think great exposition, great sessions, and right now, great interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Rodrigo.